What is up, everybody?
Hello, hello.
Welcome to Digital Quest, the video game podcast where we discuss all the latest games.
And we're also playing games now. We're going back to this format. We've tried recording this episode several times, but we're
Dude,
here now. We're here
yes.
to talk about Mortuary Assistant, right?
Yeah, so this is episode 18 now, right?
Yeah, yeah, episode
Yeah.
18.
Jesus Christ, I'm
My
already
God.
losing track.
Getting close to the year anniversary.
I know, for real. Um, yeah, so we have been playing this game called Mortuary Assistant, and it
Yeah.
was recommended to us by a dear friend of ours, and we've been on this kind of I would say we've been on this horror kick. We've been wanting to play like a bunch of these indie horror games lately.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we've kind of turned our attention towards like indies and retros, games that are trying to like go back and like capture what it was like playing those old-timey 90s early thousands games. And there's just something of a connection between retro, indie, and horror. So I don't know if we were purposely targeting horror, but it just so happens that the first two games in this new like I guess step or this adventure has been horror. But I've
Yeah.
enjoyed both, especially this most recent one, Mortuary Assistant. It blew me away.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
Oh man, like once we start diving into it and discussing like all the awesome, like the amazing points of this game, because like it really, like I told you offline, it was really a great game. And
yeah,
after I've never played a horror game like this where I want to keep coming back to it, and
yeah,
most of the time it's kind of like, okay, the scares are good, and then it kind of dies, and then after that, like the formula is pretty much the same, but the thing that they do here is pretty unique, and they
yeah,
kind of change up a lot of things and add a lot of elements from like other games. It almost like they got inspiration from those other games, which we'll go
yeah.
into.
No game, no person's an island. So you can tell there was a lot of ideas gleaned from other games. I think PT is a very obvious one. Um, the game does have a bit of an escape room mechanic to it, like many
Hmm.
other games, but there's something about the game itself. A lot of it, for those of you who haven't played it, it's a lot of the game is procedurally generated. There's some scripted events, but there's also a lot of randomly generated events. And the two kind of flow seamlessly well together so that you really don't know what is uh, scripted to happen and what isn't. So that's, I guess, I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, but that kind of goes to our desire to go back and keep on exploring the game over and over and over again just to see what changes with each
Yeah,
playthrough. Right? Is that fair to
yeah,
say?
definitely. I think yeah, overall it was a great experience. But we should first kind of like dive into the to what this game is, how
Yeah.
we already said it was recommended to us by a friend of ours. But what is the mortuary assistant?
So the mortuary assistant is so the game is about this woman, young lady named Rebecca. She's down on her luck. She recently kicked her nasty drug habit, which is good. But now she needs a job. She needs a 9 to 5 to keep things going. And her mom, I believe, who looks exactly like Sarah Connor from the first two Terminator games, is basically saying, "Yeah, like go get a job." And so Rebecca goes in to try, like, I guess it's kind of like an orientation slash day one. Let's see if I like this job.
Hmm.
The day one is at a what do you call it? What do you call it? Is it a mortuary? No, a morgue, right?
The morgue, yes.
The morgue, yeah. And then she meets the mortuary, and the guy's like, here's a body, and we're gonna examine it, and we're gonna embalm it, and that's basically it. And so you go through the process. You learn how to, manipulate the body, how to prepare it for cremation, and that's pretty much it. Easy peasy. And then you come back for day two. It's raining. It's nighttime, and there's noises and there's shadows moving, and things don't look right. And all of a sudden, you get a phone call from the mortuary. I'm sorry, or I guess the
The
mortician
mortician.
the mortician, and he's like, "Yeah, I didn't tell you." It's kind of like Five Nights at Freddy's. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
so This is the real job. You need to examine these bodies. You need to embalm these bodies, but there's a demon in there with you. And every single night, there's a demon in there with you. You gotta, I think you need to embalm at least 3 bodies. I don't know if we've done more than 3 a night,
Hmm.
um, right? But you have to inspect and embalm the 3 bodies. The demon is silently possessing one of them, and in order to and the demon's trying to possess you. So you have like there's a silent timer in the background, but I think in real world hours you have like 4 hours to kill the demon.
Mm.
uh, and the demon changes as far as we know with every new playthrough. It exhibits different behaviors, and it even summons lessened demons to distract you, to prevent you from escaping the night. So, based on the demon's behavior and based on the sigils of its name that it leaves behind, you need to find out what is the name of the demon, and then you need to place that name onto the body to which it belongs, which is its own little separate process. Which body is being possessed? That's a whole like another detective layer to it. But hypothetically, if you get the correct name and you spell the correct name, and then you put that hypothetically spelled correctly name onto the hypothetically correct body, and you burn that body, then you escape the night. And that is long and short mortuary assistant, and that's the one night. But you are invited to go back and keep on trying over and over and over again until you fail or until you find like the secret ending and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, yeah, what I was able to put together, it's basically a simulator.
Yeah,
So are a, it's a mortuary simulator first, and then with the added elements of the horror aspect, which is the ghosts and the demons that you deal with. So the cool thing that I enjoyed about this game, because the way I found out about it, aside from our friend that recommended it, like way before that, my wife was actually looking at TikToks, and then she was like, "Hey, this game looks pretty sweet." And I
yeah,
saw it and I was like, "What game is this? This actually looks pretty cool." Like all the demons that were they were showing the clips of, and all the it was basically a funny video showing like this dude getting scared. And I was like, "This actually looks pretty interesting." And then after we kind of found out about it, I told you, and then we talked to our buddy about it, who's like really big into horror. He was like, "Oh yeah, that game has a really good story, and it's I think y'all like it." So coming from a guy who is unfazed by horror games and telling us that we're gonna like it, I'm like, "Oh great, it's gonna be freaking scary."
yeah,
um,
yeah.
yeah,
It's a
so
hell of a
we,
statement. Yeah, the guy who doesn't scared, the guy who doesn't get scared is like, you're
yeah,
gonna like it. It's like fuck.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it just makes you go,
um,
damn it. Yeah, but
Yeah,
yeah,
and
it
so
was
and
pretty
that
good.
buddy of ours is the leave ending. We've done an interview with him in a previous episode, and
Yeah,
he plays a lot of those horror games, and that's one of the ways that we found out about our recent game that we played before this one, which was Murder House. And
yeah,
but yeah, back
yeah,
to this one. When we it's a simulator, and some of the aspects that it grabs from that I noticed was like phasmophobia, and then you hit it on the
hmm,
head earlier. It was like the Five Nights at Freddy's aspect,
yeah,
and then there was I guess a PT-ish would be considered like some influence there.
yeah,
um
yeah. For
I think in this modern time with all the horror games that are coming out, I think PT really pushed that envelope that where all these games started like, you
yeah,
know, revolving around that formula.
yeah,
And so yeah, like the way that like from Phasmophobia, if anybody's ever played that game, it's basically what's that called? You're a ghost detective. Is that the right term, or what's
I
that?
mean, you're basically
Paranormal,
a ghost hunter. Yeah,
yeah, ghost hunter, paranormal investigator. That's what I was looking for. Um, so in that game, you are trying to figure out what ghost is haunting the area that you're in, and you
yeah,
have to figure out all these clues because each ghost behaves a little bit differently, and so like you have all these things you have to put together to get the most points by figuring out which is the right ghost and
right.
exercising it if that's what it comes to. And so what this game does is pretty much taking that formula, and like you have like you said, like the mortician, he calls you, it pulls a Five Nights at Freddy's on you, and so it's like, oh yeah, so now you
Yeah,
good
the
luck
real job.
basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the real
And
job
so
begins. Yeah.
he has you go into his like computer where he has all his documents on the stuff he's witnessed as basically analyzing those ghosts, and then
Hmm.
you have to that part was I think for the first time it was a lot of information up front, but as we kind of kept playing it started
Yeah.
making a little bit more sense on how that data would be used. But basically it tells you the like the cult that they belong to, which
Yeah.
the factions, I guess if you want to say, and then the
Yeah.
behavior patterns,
Yeah.
and then the
They really dump a whole lot of information going into the game. Yeah.
yeah, I was kind of like, okay, let's just play, and like we'll once we keep playing, we're gonna understand it a little bit more.
Yeah, and I'm like, no, no, no.
But
Let's check the computer. Let's read on the houses. I think it's like great houses of like the demon lords and stuff. And I'm like, the world building, the world building. Meanwhile, you just hear like in the earphones, I'm gonna kill you. I'm like, let's hurry the
yeah,
fuck up.
dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you said, yeah, you have that aspect, and then you mentioned the timer. So with
Yeah.
that, like I guess over the course of the time that you're doing all your things, like your person kind of goes through like these events where like the screen will turn like a shade of yellow and showing that
Hmm.
you're kind of like getting manipulated by like this presence, which just I think we kind of hit it where it was like, oh, that's just the next level or the next phase of the haunting that's going
Yeah.
on. And
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know how
The
far it
game.
goes, but
Yeah. Yeah, the game really doesn't hold your hand when it comes to the mechanics. There's a lot of things that are left out of sight, um, which you and I kind of figured out after the course of like streaming the game multiple times. And the first time we played it, I think we got close to 4 hours. I think we were right on the cusp. We were like at 3.5 hours, más o menos. And that and we also found out that as more time progresses, the more you're getting possessed by this
mm,
great demon, and the more you're being possessed, the more that reality begins to warp. So there's going to be more events, more occurrences, more scares, more jump scares, more severe jump scares, and it just gets creepier and creepier along the way. And that's just one of the that's just one of the things where you kind of have to find out for yourself over time,
yeah,
which was cool. That was great. Uh, but then like if you're going into this game for the first time like we did, there's like a big massive just dump of information which is just
yeah,
perplexing, especially in light of like because at that point you probably would have seen a couple of like ghosts and stuff, so you're just like I don't really have time to read all this, just tell me what I need to know. Yeah.
yeah. And one of the cool things that goes on, we'll save the meat of it for like the mechanics setting, or the section of this episode. But um, the the way that they structured a lot of the formula here in the game, it's kind of cool because it makes you think that it's a linear game, which it kind of is. It kind of is very linear, but when
Yeah.
the way that they change things up to make it more randomized,
Hmm.
there are these events that happen. So like like in a single player game, like if you're playing like a story, obviously you know that when you hit a certain part, there's this cutscene that takes place and it's all orchestrated, right?
Right.
So they do a lot of that stuff here, but I'm under the impression that those are some of those randomized moments, which we haven't played further enough to understand if that's the case. The times that we did, the time we did, or the couple times we did play, it kind of fed you pieces of the story. So like it was like, okay, was this orchestrated to happen at this point in time? But then when
Yeah.
we played another playthrough, it was different. Like certain things would happen. I'm like, whoa, hold on. Is this like
Right.
randomized orchestration? Like this is pretty cool.
Like they're pretty like pivotal like important cutscenes, but the cutscene that we got in the second playthrough, which was creepy as heck by the way, I don't know if we
Yeah.
want to go more deep into that, but the cutscene that we got in the second playthrough, which is kind of critical to like you understanding your character Rebecca, we never got that the first time around.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, so
No.
that was yeah.
Yeah. You never played that game Returnal, right? I think I
Returnal.
told you about it.
No, I played a couple like lives of it. Yeah, but that one is also like that one's a shooter, but also there's like a die, live again, rinse, repeat sort of thing,
Yeah.
right?
But like so the formula, I just remember this right now. Like when in Returnal, that's the way that get that game behaved. Where so there was like this whole like secret story going on in the background you had to put together, right? But every time you died, some new part of the story would show up. and
Mm.
it would feed you like extra story pieces, even though like depending if you got far and died, so then it would give you another section of the story. And I feel like that's what it's doing here, throughout your whole and like embalming process of the bodies. And dude, like that is like, if it's true, like if we play it enough more, because I want to go back into it because it's like really
Heck yeah.
fun. But if we comes to the point where it is that is the case of what I'm thinking, then dude, that makes this game even much more like of a value to play, because it's like those games don't really exist right at this point in time, at least that
Right.
I played. So that was one of the cool things that I liked about it. And I think yeah, we'll save some of the cool stuff of what we witnessed, because there was a lot of freaking scares in this game that was like, god damn, like
Yeah.
holy shit.
Yeah, just from a story level, like there's a it's linear in that there's like an A to B. A is like, okay, you start off as an assistant mortician, and B is like, okay, survive the night. That's it. It's kind of Five Nights at
Mm,
Freddy's esque in that respect, but how you get from A to B will change with every single playthrough. At least depend based on what we've seen so far. There's a lot of procedurally generated aspects. So if you're someone who's into like lore and stories and like hidden stories like you are with Returnal and stuff, this is most certainly like a game for you. And that's something that I liked when we did the second playthrough, when we streamed on Twitch. Which, if you aren't following us already, please do so.
hmm.
We like it. We're enjoying it. We're probably going to do it more. Uh, they're like the new cutscenes and stuff. Like I wasn't looking for
Yeah,
those, but when we got it, I was very pleasantly surprised.
yeah,
So
yeah. And they're
it's
totally like they're cool cutscenes too, like where it's something that we weren't really expecting to happen. It was kind of like, whoa, like what the hell's happening here, like, and this is
yeah.
pretty. Yeah.
This doesn't belong here. Yeah,
Yeah, like
but
they throw in, it's almost like they throw in some like new mechanics along the way, which is pretty awesome.
that's true
But
too.
yeah.
Yeah, so I guess if we're so that's like the story aspect of it. Uh, I guess do you want to go a bit more into the mechanics?
Yeah. Well, oh yeah. So just to close on the story,
Yeah,
you mentioned that, so the whole point of the game is there's this backstory with your character, but like the main meat of it is you're trying to embalm these bodies. So like the simulator portion, like you're trying to get through the night, trying to do your job, and at the same time you have to worry about the demons. So like once you keep going forward with doing all your bodies, it's almost like that's the first half. Like you're doing the bodies first, and then you're figuring out what how to defeat the demon in the second half of the level, or the event. And that's where stuff gets really cool, where you start having to really pay attention to like how things or what's happening in the environment. And yeah, we'll save that for the mechanics, but just wanted to close on that for the story, like just so that people understood like what the game was about. So you're putting together the secret story, and then you're actually simulating this whole more mortician aspect of it.
yeah, yeah. It's a
um,
mortician simulator, throwing
yeah,
ghosts and demons.
it's only a matter of time, dude. I swear to God, like I swear somebody's gonna do this. They're gonna freaking make a power wash simulator into a haunting game, a
And you know
horror
what?
game.
You know what? You just, but that sounds pretty fun. That actually sounds pretty cool. Or I think there's like a guy was like, I think there's like a lawn mowing simulator, but imagine it's like a cemetery. And just go from there.
Oh, dude.
Just
Yeah.
the story just writes itself. And I like that. I
Oh
like
no,
that
I
a
gotta
lot.
go get gas. I have to go walk to the house, to the
Oh
shed.
no, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. So diving into the mechanics of what this game is doing. Um, so during the more your embalming process, it's I'm not a mortician, or I don't work in a morgue or anything, but I have worked a lot in an environment where we did have that. And I would talk to those folks at the actual what we call the medical examiner, right? And
Right.
so from what I have gathered in the past, and then seeing what's happening here in the game, I'm like, man, this is pretty cool. And I wouldn't say it's like 100% accurate. It's just the steps that you have to take. There's like about what would you say? Probably about like 20 steps, or is there like with the checklist, because you have a tablet,
Yeah,
and then
yeah. In the end, yeah, it's like it's like 15-20 steps you got to do on each
Mm.
body. Yeah.
Yeah, so like the first thing, you're grabbing a set of items to do something on the body, which is like which one was it? To like open the jaw or close the jaw shut.
Right.
And then you have to worry about like taking out all the blood draining the
Right.
body.
You got to drain the body. You got to put stuff under the eyelids. You got to
Yeah.
put fluid into like the intestines. Um, it was very intricate, and right there were some things where I'm like, uh, this is so precise and accurate to where I feel like maybe the person who made this game or the team behind the development of this game, they must have known someone, or maybe someone had some experience in that field where I felt like, oh damn, this feels genuine. This feels like the real deal, like a
Yeah, like the
simulator.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, like the first step, like what you end up doing is you have to figure out like these markings around the body. So basically determining like where the force trauma was on these bodies.
Right.
That's the best way to put it. And then after that, then you start going through the whole process and doing that. And then so as you go along, um, obviously whenever you're examining the body, you're getting super deep, like close in. The camera zooms into that particular body part or the face, which is the most obvious. Like, oh my god, something's gonna happen here.
Right.
Um, but yeah, so you're getting very up close and personal with these bodies, and you start feeling like, oh my god, like something's gonna start happening at some point in time with this stuff, and then
Right.
so a lot of the game is built around this building, right? So there's about five, I would say five rooms. So you have
I'd say like maybe like three or four major rooms, and then you got
yeah,
closets in like the bathroom. Yeah, but
yeah, yeah.
it really goes between like the entrance, the main room where you're operating on the bodies, and then the furnace, or I guess the room where you keep the bodies, but also the
Hmm.
furnace.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but everything else is just like a hallway, so it's pretty compact. My point being, yeah,
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 yeah. So then, so yeah, you got the entrance, you got the bathroom, which is actually has a purpose. Like you have to go in there and get some chemicals and stuff. So like
yeah,
they sprayed all this stuff out, like all the items, where you have to really get out of your comfort zone so you can go grab these things.
yeah.
And
You
the
can never
the
be too
cra-
safe in one area. Yeah.
yeah, and the crazy thing that I did not know until you mentioned it, you're like, oh no, the items that are in their places, they swap over, they are randomly generated
Hmm.
to go in other places at every playthrough. I was like, oh my god. Just because like in the first playthrough, I'm like, man, where the hell are all these items? I was like, if they change this every freaking time, that's gonna be hard. And you're like, yeah, they change it every time. I'm like, fuck. I'm like,
Yeah,
all
and
right,
some of
cool.
them are like underneath, like there's like tables, and now it's like underneath the table. There's like the desk area where you have the computer full of like
Hmm.
demonology information, and just right behind that computer is like where the eyelid closer things are at. It literally took us like maybe 10-15 minutes just to find that one thing, and we thought we, or at least I thought for a second that the game forgot to spawn them in. I'm like, where are they? Where are they? Where are they? And then you said like, hold up, just it's unlikely, but we haven't checked there. Let's check there, and it's there. I'm like, God
Yeah.
darn it, you know. Yeah. So
And so
that was cool. Yeah,
yeah,
the
it's kind of
randomization.
cool that they do that because now they make you waste time
It makes you waste
to
time.
let the
Yeah,
ghost kind of like get you
that's true.
or start affecting you and makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Uh
yeah,
but so yeah, overall like that's like the first half. Like you're working on the body, you get to go through all those cool simulator parts, finding all the different items and figuring out the combination that they need to go in to kind of like do all the mechanics of what you're needing to do. And then it comes to the haunting portion where stuff starts kind of going crazy,
oh my god.
and
Yeah,
it'll start, just like horror movies. Like it all starts with just like little things that happen, like, oh, like an object moves or lights flicker or some whispers just
yeah.
start showing up out of
Or you see
or
some eyes in the distance, just like red eyes, just in the
yeah.
distance. Like, yeah.
Yeah, you'll see like a shadow just kind of whew.
Or like literally in the prologue, it's like it's bright as day, and I think you're the one who pointed it out. But like, there's like a window. There's a freaking huge freaking window right next to like where you're operating on the bodies. And during the prologue, when it's all bright outside, I think you're the one who pointed it out. It's like, would you see like this pair of red eyes just go here, and then like
Yeah,
off the
he's all like
away
that
from the
here, he's all
sill,
like
and we're like, dude, it's broad daylight. Like, there, you guys have no chill. My God.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So the game, that's kind of going into mechanics. We kind of mentioned like as the night progresses, you could tell things start to escalate. The possession process, the
Hmm.
hallucinations, and the even auditory hallucinations, they begin to escalate.
Yeah.
So I think that was very good for getting you, like, for pulling you in. It's like you said, it's like in a movie. It always starts off with like little breadcrumbs, and then it rises and rises and rises until it crescendos towards like hour 3 or 4.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. The cool things that I liked about the game mechanics is I'm hoping that those were randomized, but they should be. But like anytime like for say when we're on the computer, so like when you jump on the computer trying to
Oh my
research
god.
like the
Yeah,
ghosts, so you have like about this about amount of space that's like the
yeah,
computer, right? And then the rest is
yeah,
like up here and it gets like blurry. And then
yeah,
so you can still see the background, but it's just blurred out. And then while
yeah.
you're doing stuff, you're kind of like trying to look up information, and all of a sudden you see the body on the freaking the table kind of like rise up, and I'm like, oh no, dude, it's
Yeah.
crazy. And then even
No, it's yeah.
that one time where the freaking ghost was like just literally walking towards us with his red
Oh my
eyes, and
god.
we were like, oh my god, it's coming, it's coming.
Yeah, yeah. What happened was, yeah, I think you may have stepped out, or maybe you were just coming back, and so I hear footsteps, and it's like, okay, that can only be you. I don't think you can hear footsteps of ghosts, but then you see like we call him the Shadow Man. You and I, the Shadow Man, red eye like silhouette.
Yeah,
He just starts. He comes out of nowhere. He spawns in. And he just walks directly towards you while you're on the
dude.
computer. I'm like, Mike, 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 hurry up!
Yeah, and
Oh
then
my god.
and
Yeah,
then once you get off the computer, it's like gone. And it's
it's gone.
and then even like times whenever you're like say there's a phone in the office and then it rings. There's about two phones. There's one in the
Oh,
front office and then there's one in the back. And
yeah.
so they both ring. So wherever you're at, like it keeps ringing and ringing and ringing, wanting you to answer. So when you do answer, it stuff happens where you're like either you'll hear like a voice where like you're gonna die or something like that,
Yeah,
right? And then or it could be like a hallucination of like you talking, and
you
it's
talking
like
to yourself. Yeah,
what the like what is going on right now? And
yeah.
I
So,
think those were like the elements of sorry like the
sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
like the ghosts, because when you're researching the ghosts, the some of them will do certain things, and like the way that it talks or they impersonates things like that'll help guide you to figure out which one it is.
Yeah, yeah. There was a in the beginning of like your first official night after your boss basically tells you, "Hey, you're fucked. We kind of honeypotted you into this shitty job."
Yeah,
He leaves you behind a series of tapes, and the tapes kind of give you a very long information dump about the demonology and the process of hunting demons. But then he says something kind of cool, which made me feel safe, which was, I made you these tapes to listen to. They're pre-recorded, so when you listen to it, you know that this is real, that you're not being manipulated. But in the middle of our first playthrough, we kept on going back to tape 2 because I think that explained the process of identifying the demon. And we clicked on it, the tape 2, and it's basically that, like, your ass is mine. You're gonna die. And I'm like,
yeah,
dude, you just told me these recordings were safe, that we could trust them. But no, even the demon apparently is getting into the recordings, and that's when I'm like,
yeah,
we're not gonna make it.
dude,
Yeah,
yeah, dude, it gets like crazy,
it
and
gets
it's
really crazy. Yeah, and apparently there was another mechanic which we need to explore the next time we play, where the head mortician leaves you a notepad and a pencil, I think, on the front
yeah,
desk, and what he says is, as the demon begins possessing you, your perception of reality will greatly alter. So what you need to do is like draw a straight line with the pencil on the piece of paper. If the line is straight or mostly straight, that means you're okay. You're mostly sane. As the night progresses and you get more possessed, that line will become a circle.
mm,
If you get towards the later stages of the possession and it looks like you may not make it out, eventually it'll turn into like a perfect circle, and then towards like the very end of the possession, it'll turn into a pentagram.
yeah,
Uh, Unfortunately, we didn't. I guess we were just so dead set on just like
yeah,
surviving the first night that we didn't really do that. But in retrospect, I was like, that's a cool mechanic, which I wish we explored a bit more. But just the thought of that is like, that's pretty cool. The thought of like you cannot trust what you see, what you hear. Uh, that window next to the body is the source of nightmares.
Yeah.
Yeah, the things you see in the darkness and the rain, it's just like,
Yeah,
hmm.
and so those are some of the ways that you start figuring out like, hey, the stuff's starting to happen, and to figure out if you're sane or not. So it starts adding an element. If anybody's ever played that eternal, what was it, eternal Jesus Christ.
Eternal darkness, eternal night,
There you
the
go. Sorry.
GameCube game, right?
Damn,
Yeah,
I just had a blank. Yeah, Eternal Darkness for the GameCube, and that to me has always been one of the best examples of like holy shit fuckery going on in a game. Aside from the Psycho Mantis fight from the PS1 game, that was like OG
yeah,
fucking shit messing with you.
yeah. It
Um,
really crosses that threshold that it breaks the fourth wall. That's what I'm trying to
yeah,
say. Yeah,
yeah. So in Eternal Darkness, like as there's a sanity part to it where as you're going through the game, if you get hit, if you get a, if you basically if you take damage, that's when you start losing your sanity. And then like once your sanity is low, you can have a full bar of health, but then your sanity is very low. Shit starts happening like fucking weird shit. The
yeah,
screen will like go off and then show you like, oh sorry, I can't display the video, or like an old like video recorder. And then
yeah,
some things will happen where like your arms will fall off just randomly and you can't fucking hit enemies. So
yeah.
the thing that I kind of related to with this game was like with those things, like those mechanics that they added into it with the pencil to kind of make you feel, help you understand if you're still there, or you're
Hmm.
like really kind of like in this hallucination zone. But yeah, it is super awesome, man. I really love what the team did there, and like how they really orchestrate, put all that stuff together to where it
Yeah,
randomizes like the events that happen.
yeah, absolutely. And in terms of now that you mentioned like breaking like I guess like breaking barriers and stuff and like breaking the fourth wall, like you would notice at first like the ghost. At first, like you hear a lot of auditory hallucinations. Then the
Hmm.
next thing you know is that you start seeing like things out of the corner of your eye, and then you start seeing things in the distance, and then eventually they get braver and braver and they get closer. And then towards the end of the night, when you're like pretty high in the possession like meter, is when you start getting knocked down like to the ground. Like
Yeah,
I don't know, the demon or the whatever starts like becoming super aggressive, and at that point you're just like, I can't trust anything. Did I fall over and get knocked over by something, or was it the demon? I don't know.
yeah,
That's just like it got to me. It scared the hell out of me. But
yeah. Like yeah,
yeah,
like before we get to like the types of ghosts that we've experienced so far, I think it's cool. We should talk about like whenever those events that would happen. Like when you have a cursor, so the cursor is like a little reticle, and then
yeah,
as you're like looking at stuff, it'll show like a hand so you can grab stuff, or like a little icon so you can like
yeah,
view something.
yeah,
So there's that element. And then whenever those certain things were happening, and we would try and go and like open the door, there was like no icon, and we're like,
yeah.
wait, hold on, what the fuck's going on here? And we're like, we can't open the door, can't. And then we go and look at the body, we can't like touch the body, and we're like, oh fuck, what the hell's going on? And then sooner or later, like the light just like shuts off, and you're like, no,
You're just
no.
like, no, hurry up. Whatever's gonna
Yeah.
happen, just get it over with. Yeah,
Oh,
just let me
and
get back
dude,
to work on this body.
and I could have sworn that at some points I would hear like some crackling, like shit happening like that. I'm like, no,
Yeah,
mm-mm. I'm just gonna go
yeah.
cry in a corner right now.
Oh, there was one I think on the second playthrough where we started running into the mimic, which we'll get into in a bit. The types of demons. Yeah, we were working on a body. I think I was looking up, where do we go next on this on the second playthrough that we streamed, and then that happened. The cursor, I think it gets grayed out. Like when you try to open the door, it's just
Hmm.
like, yeah, we know you want to do that, but no, something's going to happen. But the lights didn't go out, and there were no auditory hallucinations. So then I started going towards like the room where the furnace is, And then when I turned towards the body, that's when we saw the body just stand up straight and just like, remember
Oh
the,
yeah, dude. That the
yeah, it just
fucking
kind of
neck
standing
was
over
like
himself like, yeah, just
that
like
was
it,
fucking creepy, dude.
that was creepy as
Holy fuck.
hell. Yeah, that I think that one was the worst one. And that's when we got brave. That's when we started like kind of speed running, uh,
Yeah, I was more pissed off.
embalming
I
the
was like, all right,
body.
come on, motherfuckers, let's get fucking go.
Yeah, yeah. So that it was very refreshing to see that the game didn't run out of like jump scares for us.
Or even that one part where we were working on that Asian guy. That was the
Yeah,
first playthrough, and so the body obviously we're working on this Asian, and the reason why I say it is because like it makes a lot of sense after what I say. So
yeah.
we're working on
You
this
have to pay
body.
attention to the body. Yeah, to the
Yeah,
characteristics of the body. So yeah, there's this Asian male
yeah,
dead
and
body.
so we've been working on the body for a while. We know what it looks like, and then there comes to a point where something starts happening, and that's where where we couldn't open the doors and whatnot. And then we look at the body, and we can't interact with the body. And the thing that I did not realize is that the body we were working on was not the body that was there before. This was
Right.
like now a an American white male where I was
Yeah.
because it did a jump scare once because obviously it wanted us the only area of the body that it let us touch was the head, and
Yeah.
that's where fucking like we're like, all right, some shit's gonna happen, and then it fucking jump scared at us, and then but I didn't realize. I'm like, wait, hold on, this is not the same body, and then it
Yeah.
flashed
You
and it
didn't
went
say
back to the
anything
Asian.
either. Yeah, you didn't say anything either. So I was like, this doesn't look right. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then I was like, dude, like after the fact, I thought about it. I'm like, that is a fucking cool like event that
It's kind
happened.
of
I'm like, dude, I didn't even snap to think that this was
right.
different.
And it was cool. Unlike the one where the guy's just like this.
Scares you.
Yeah, he just scares you by looking at you. He just
Oh shit!
fuck. Oh my
you,
god.
It's
yeah,
kind of
dude.
those things where like it kind of tests to see if you're paying attention. If you're paying attention, you
Yeah.
know immediately that's not the body you're working on, and you can kind of anticipate that the scare is going to happen, or maybe we could have avoided it. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But right then you got this guy who looks Caucasian, but the skin is still very pale, and you're like, okay, so this is still a dead body. I don't know. Maybe I wasn't paying attention before. And I think the second body, correct me if I'm wrong, had like a massive like purple bruise on its face.
Oh yeah,
That
that's
for
right. Yeah, I had a
sure.
bruise.
Yeah. So if anything, I'm like, did the demon just punch my corpse? Like what the hell? Like this is my work here. Hands off. And then when it gave you the prompt to like investigate the bruise, that's when it's just like, yeah, that
Yeah,
was genius. That was yeah,
dude,
that
really good execution there.
yeah. So you really do have
But
to pay
yeah,
attention.
yeah, for sure. So there is that aspect. So,
Yeah, pay
uh,
attention. Yeah.
but yeah, going into the ghosts or sorry, the demons. The one that
Yeah.
we experienced first. I think we've experienced total about a number of four or three, counting the ones that I showed you whenever I played by myself, and
Yeah.
just briefly. And so the first one we witnessed was the red-eyed. What do we call him? Shadow Man.
So real quick before we go into that. So there's three lesser demons in total. So there's like in every game there's like 12 major demons. You'll get one. You need to kill that one. But in the game, there's three lesser demons. You can get
Oh yeah,
one
that's true.
or maybe more. One of them is called the Shadow Man. I think that's what the wiki. I think that's what the community has called him. That it's a guy who's just like black in color, like shadow, literally a shadow with red
Mm-hmm.
eyes, and he doesn't physically interact with you until like in the late stages of the possession. But his main thing is to like jump scare you, and to like just kind of like be the red eyes in the distance, just constantly haunting you.
Yeah.
There's a second one called the Mimic. The Mimic is actually the least aggressive of the three lesser demons, and he's actually the most known one. So if you've seen any TikTok about Mortuary Assistant, then you know who I'm talking about. It's like the guy who's just like in the corner, like just kind of smiling, like
Yeah, fucking creepy. Yeah.
super creepy. Or he'll like find the most compact, least seen like spaces and just be like and just he's supposed to be creepy.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm kind of not looking forward to finding him in a fucking cabinet. Oh my god.
it's
Sorry.
so yeah, he could be in a cabinet. Like you open a cabinet, he's just like
Yeah.
it's yeah, it freaks me out just thinking about it. And then lastly, there's I think she's called the Woman in White, and her I
Yeah.
think it's like a woman in like maybe a torn up like wedding dress or like some sort of white dress. She's aggressive. She does not like you, the player. She can physically interact with you, and I think she could possibly kill you before the night's over. So you got the possession, and then you got to worry about her.
Mm.
Um, and in the first playthrough, we got the Shadow Man, right? So yeah,
Yeah, so the Shadow Man wasn't too bad. He was kind of I feel like he was kind of like let's get you warmed up to the game kind of guy. And
it was pleasant. Yeah,
so he would do
I mean,
stuff, but he would
yeah,
he would do stuff that was creepy, but it wasn't like experiencing the mimic or experiencing the woman in white, which man, goddamn. So yeah, the mimic, we've experienced them a couple of times to where there was one where he was just like kind of perching on top of this cabinet, and he was just there watching like oh my god, like
yeah.
he's
And
like
we stared at him for like a good like 2 minutes before he finally like receded into the wall.
he's
Like
like yeah, and
that
then
was yeah,
fucking
that was creepy.
yeah.
Ugh.
Oh, didn't see you there. Okay.
Yeah, no, we're just working. And no, here's the thing: on the second playthrough, I think that's when we met the mimic. But the thing about the second playthrough is when we had the jump scare where the Shadow Man was walking towards the computer, and also
Yeah.
like we had a here's the computer, right? Here's the computer taking up the screen, and then he just kind of goes like,
Yeah,
"What are you
like he's like
doing? What are you doing?"
oh yeah.
So we thought that's it. Okay, it's we just have the Shadow Man, great. But then we start walking towards the morgue, and then that's when we see the mimic just like on top of a cabinet close to the roof, just like
Yeah. Like,
yeah,
oh my god, dude. And
yeah,
then there were a couple of other times. So like the mimic can actually, yeah, like you said, like he could be in cabinets, he can be like on the walls, kind of like crawling towards you or crawling away, but he always kind of as you get closer to him or you look at him, then that's where he kind of like goes away.
yeah,
Um and but it's just I feel like he's kind of like just that one where like oh you're like and you're like quickly look and trying to do something you're like oh my god like dude
yeah, yeah. He's like the ultimate like jump scare. Well, not ultimate. So Shadow Man, like he will like rush you. He'll like bum rush you, but like he won't hurt you. He just wants to scare you.
Mm,
Shadow Man is supposed to creep you the fuck out to where like you want him to like no, he wants you to be to make him the center of attention, so that that distracts you from doing your work, so that the big demon can work on possessing you. Yeah. So and
mm.
it does a great job. Whoever in like the development team who made Mimic, you did a great job.
Yeah
He's
dude
scary
like
as fuck. Yeah.
yeah he was a good one and then going on to the woman in white. So I only experienced her whenever I played without you that night or sorry the next
Yeah.
day.
That's what you
And
get. That's what you get. Yeah.
yeah, I know. So I'm there playing on the table, right? Like so I have the little like Steam Deck with me and then so I'm playing on there and I'm sitting at the table during dinner with my wife and my family and so I'm like playing it and I'm like, wait, hold the fuck up, and
Yeah.
because
What
we
is
were on
that?
we're on the Shadow Man. I was like, okay, I experienced the Shadow Man, and then
You
all of a
experienced the
sudden I see
Mimic.
the
Yeah.
Mimic, and I'm like, what the? I even took a picture of the Mimic, and
Yeah.
I
You
sent
sent
it
me
to you.
pictures, so I'm like, okay, you got two demons.
Oh
Cool. All
God.
right. Yeah.
And then I'm playing, and I'm like, okay, and then the light starts flickering off, and so like towards the incinerator at the very back, like there's a hallway stretch, right, where there's two
Yeah.
double doors in between, and so you got
Yeah.
the lights like in a freaking horror movie, right? Like the lights turn off, and then I see a body there, and I'm like, is that a? Oh no! I was like, it's the fucking woman in white, and then the lights turn off, right? In that section, the lights are
Yeah.
still on your side, but then the light flashes again. She's closer, and then she gets closer, and I just paused the game. I'm like, I'm not. I was like, I'm not doing this.
She's aggressive. She's aggressive. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
That
was
that
like, you
was
stay
creepy.
your
Yeah.
ass over
Yeah. Because I
there.
thought, yeah, because in the second playthrough we had two males, both of them kind of middle aged, and one of them was smiling. I swear to God, one of them was smiling while we were operating on him.
Oh
And
yeah,
then there
there
was
was that
one
aspect
like
too.
there was one middle-aged woman, but she had like a bra on. And in the
Yeah,
picture you sent me, which maybe we can have it like here, or if you haven't shown it already, it's clearly she's like in a dress.
yeah.
Yeah, so at that point I'm like, Mike, that's what you get for not playing with me. Now you got three lesser demons after you. That's what you get.
Uh,
Yeah, so that that's creepy.
Yes. Yeah, so
Yeah.
so far those are the only encounters that we've had, and I mean, obviously we're gonna be playing this game a little bit more, but we will. I'm really hoping that they do it like Phasmophobia, where they keep adding demons to the game as updates, and
Yeah.
because that would be a super like a really that would make me want to play this game even more and more, with with you or just in general. I mean, probably not by myself. Fuck that. I ain't playing this by myself.
You know
It's
what
too
happens
much.
when you play by yourself. We know this.
Yeah, I'm gonna have nightmares. Someone fuck that.
Yeah.
Um, but after the fact, like typically, even though like with Pete, so when I played PT, right, like I was scared shitless that I could not play that by myself. I had to pass it over to my friend to let him play it for me because I was like,
Yeah.
fuck this shit. But after I thought about it, like, dude, the cool thing about this game is like I still like the game. Like I still want to play it. It's just, dude, like it's so well executed, like from what we've gathered so far, and I really want to get to the point where we can figure out. Oh, and this is another aspect too. Like, well, we beat first the first night, or so
Mm-hmm.
we got past the first night, we should say, and so you figure out what the ghost was, or you fail on identifying the ghost, and then certain things
Yeah.
happen, like after either or. So the first night we unsuccessfully figured out the demon because in the demonology cabinet there is this thing called a mark where the objective is to once you start gathering rewind. So
We mentioned
it
sigils. We mentioned sigils.
no, but that the paper,
Oh, okay.
right?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah. So in the demonology cabinet, one of the cool things that you can have is like this little paper that allows you. It kind of burns as you get
Yeah.
closer to the entity, or the sigil that are left behind, right, for
Yeah.
the demons. So once it burns up in your hand, you got to look around your environment to find out where these little sigils are located, and that helps you. That tells you which ghost that or this demon that you're dealing with, so that on this thing called the mark, which is a disc with like four little inserts, you put those sigils in the correct order,
In the
from the
correct order.
research. Yeah,
Yeah.
from what you're reading on the computer. Once you do that, and you're for sure, thinking what you think is the demon is, you take that mark, then you put it on the body that it's possessing, because throughout the whole purpose is that the demon's trying to possess one of those bodies in the morgue,
No,
and
it is
so
possessing. It is
or
possessing
yeah.
one of those bodies. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
so it's possessing one of those bodies, so that once you figure out which body it is, and you already have the right codex to put on that mark, you slap it on the body, and then you burn it. And so what that's supposed to do is supposed to attach the mark to the body, so that way when the demon is getting burnt, it's tied to the soul, and then the soul gets
Tied to the
obliterated.
body and then it's obliterated. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so on our first playthrough, we got the right body, but we had the wrong combination for the freaking mark, and so
Yeah.
the
We had
events
the
that
right
happened.
symbols. Yeah, but
Yeah,
it's just literally, I swear to God, we had the right symbols. I think the demon was Urskaret or something like that. But literally, we put one symbol in the wrong location, and then that other symbol was in the wrong location, and as a
yeah.
result, yeah, we
Y-
yeah we
Yes.
got
So we
the
burned the body, and I remember like because like this whole event happens like it's like a cutscene, and so we kind of fall back, right, and then obviously there's a lot of stuff happening where the demon's crying and shit, and then this body just starts crawling towards us, and then he gets sucked back in, and I was like,
yeah
we did this, right? I mean, we fucking
yeah
passed it. We got
yeah
it. Eh,
yeah.
Yeah, and
The
then
game
soon
does a
I
good does a good bait and switch. Yeah yeah
Yeah, and then so right after that, then it kind of goes into another cutscene of the next day, and we won't spoil it for anybody, but stuff happens, and then we're like, "Fuck!" We it literally tells you got a bad ending. I was like, "God damn it! It wasn't the right one."
yeah yeah. No, that was disappointing, but it does tell you pleasantly. It tells you, hey, you got one out of like six endings. So
Yeah,
immediately we're like, I'm angry. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. We're gonna get the good ending this time. Yeah.
Yeah. So all in all, that's pretty much all the mechanics of what we were able to put together playing it for like the time that we did. I think we should probably go over the sound design next, because that was actually another good thing that added to the horror of it.
Yeah. Um, so it's kind of like also in the spirit of PT, which was like, a first person horror game. One of the great things about first person horror is that this is all you see. You don't know what's going here behind you, except when you hear like footsteps, when you hear like a guy literally in your like whispering, like, I'm going to kill you. You're going to be mine.
Yeah.
Or like if you're turning around to like prepare a mixture of chemicals and then the corpse behind you starts talking like, why did you let me die? Sound design matters, right? So,
Yeah.
and then you got the raining window outside, and then you start hearing like knocking, and then you turn like, what was that? What was that? So yeah, sound design matters, and in this game, I was very pleasantly, uh, like scared. It got me angry. It got me upset. But that's what a game is supposed to do. That's what a good game is supposed to do. And in terms of like proximity. What this game really surprised me with was proximity. There's a lot of doors
Hmm.
throughout the entire facility. It's a small facility, but it's all pretty close knit. But there's a lot of doors, so every now and then you may hear like a little knocking, which you can tell is like coming from like a door way down the
Yeah.
office. So that tells me, okay, you probably don't want to go there anytime soon. And then like you'll get closer knocking, and then sometimes you'll just get full on like banging on a glass texture, which tells
Yeah.
you whatever or whoever is coming after you is right next to you, and it's right on the other side of that window. And then
Hmm.
like so that just it's good for setting the mood, for getting you feeling fear. Whenever you become very complacent working on the body and you're like, okay, I'm making progress, it's just there's just always a constant reminder that you're not safe and that hurry the hell up, right? um,
Yeah.
that was that was just amazing. And then even the smaller, more simpler stuff, like in the first night, uh, when we're in the like in the room where we I think we've heard the tapes, we've already kind of started working on the body, and I think we just kind of took a moment to just take it in. We're like, there's a lot going on here. This is scary. And then like you just hear like a big thunder, like boom, like
Yeah. Yeah. That was.
it's like wow, just amazing sound design altogether. I feel like I'm in that morgue. I got to get the hell out of there, and all the forces, all the elements are just against me. Uh, but anyway, enough of me. Like sound. What I guess what was your favorite aspect of that, or what did you think?
Yeah. It was with the simulator part where you're working on the bodies, like the sounds that they got to make the sound of dealing with flesh, and also like
Oh
the
yeah,
cracking of bones as you're
teeth.
hammering
Yeah,
stuff. And dude, like it's they act, well, I don't know what it truly sounds like in real life, but it sounds really good. Like you can tell like what you're hitting is that material. It sounds like a material that is breaking, or if you're dealing with like the insides, it sounds real slimy and like kind of gutturally. Like,
yeah,
yeah, it's pretty. Dude, like I'm like, okay, all right, this sounds good. And then when you're grabbing bottles, it obviously makes the little kink sounds, and then
Dink.
metal objects. But then when the ghosts come out, yeah, like you said, the atmosphere was great, like the rain, the thunder, and then the banging on the freaking doors, where you're like, fuck, okay, all right. Um, one of the cool things was that whenever the lights would go out, you would hear like shit, like something was walking towards you, or like something that was in the room, and you're like, oh no, like where the fuck is it? And then
Yeah,
what they do on purpose is like they don't really, this is more of a mechanic thing, but the when you're turning around, it's all pitch black, but then after a period of time they start showing you like a little sliver of light for the light switch, and then for like objects there. And
right.
that way you're not like totally lost. Um but yeah, so the sound, what was that one thing that happened? There was a cutscene that took place, well, the hallucination part. So when you start putting together the story of the main character, there are these hallucinations that happen that help you understand what the deal is with this chick, and then sometimes you'll be transported to different areas, or not in the same morgue. You'll
Mm-hmm.
be just transported to like your apartment. And
Yeah.
the cool thing that I liked there was we were trying to figure out like, hey, where the hell? What are we supposed to do? We can't click on any doors. It's telling us that we need to grab something, and then the screen just kind of goes like it gets blue screen of death, but except it's red, like red screen of death. It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
and it shows you
No,
game cannot load, whatever. You did not grab the correct item, and it specifically puts in yellow like you didn't grab the correct item. We're like, that's cool. Like I love that kind of shit. Like where it
yeah.
fucks with you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And that was also something they did in PT. That was a little PT-ism they did.
Yeah,
Like the game. It's like, oh, warning, the game is broken. You didn't pick up the right item. It's like, just breaking the
yeah,
fourth wall, the ghosts. And I think,
yeah.
yeah, and I think in that one, like, in that little, when you're transported to a place outside the morgue, I actually felt pretty safe. I'm like, oh god, I feel safe. We're out of there. Nope.
Yeah, no.
No, you're not. You're actually being seen. I think that's when we turn around and then you just kind of see the Shadow Man, like,
Yeah, like just
and then
kind
he
of
fades into the background. Yeah,
like
yeah. That
bye.
was, yeah, bye. No, so it was yeah, it was pretty bad. But I
Yeah.
guess, yeah, to your point, like when
They
you're
they
working on the bodies, it's like, yeah, even if there's like complete silence, you actually get a moment of respite. You're still breaking bones, you're breaking teeth and stuff, and it sounds disgusting. So even that is kind of like, it's kind of scary in of itself. Yeah, and the sound design, just takes it home, that point.
yeah, I think they really they really nailed that because without the sound like it probably wouldn't have been as scary, but like dude, like they really did a good job.
They did a really really good job.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So what would you rate this like out of let's call it our scare score.
you
Out of
heard it here first. Scare score. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the from I guess 1 through 10, right? Like out of games that you play in the past, like where does this rank in terms of like the scare factor?
So I have to so to help me make that. Hmm. I have to compare to PT. PT, I would put like a 10 out of 10. It was a very short game, but it gets you to the core, and we're still talking about it years later. This is a game that I will use as a reference for other horror games that we'll be playing. Um, it's amazing. It's great. The procedurally generated aspects uh, makes it hard to trust what you're seeing, and it rocks you to your core. That's horror. That's peak horror. I would give it like a I would have to give it like a 9 or maybe even a 9.5. Uh, and I say 9.5 because I would give the playthrough that we did a 9, but you with the three lesser demons coming after your ass, that's almost a 10. That's scary as hell. Uh, that scares me, and I haven't even played it. It just oh my god. So I think I got to give it a 9.5. It's high up there. The game is not without its bugs, but
Yeah.
there were few and far between, and that didn't break the immersion. And I'm going to use that as like a guide looking at other games. So I would give it a 9.5. What would you give it?
So if I consider 10 as traumatizing, I think that would be the worst, right? Like if a game actually traumatizes you to the fact where you can't sleep at night or you have bad dreams about it, then that means
Yeah,
that dude, that means that it was a good game and it did what it was supposed to do. But in this, I would probably say an 8. And the only reason why I'm saying 8 is because as I mentioned earlier, this game is terrifying, right? I mean, it's more jump scary rather than like real like true horror where
dread.
it's like just getting to you like bothering the shit out of you. Um, but the factor of like the randomization, if we were to play it more and more, and like what I was suspecting from the very beginning of what I explained, like the randomization was truly that, and then they incorporated this mechanic to it where it was just like, dude, you cannot guess like if what's going to happen, then that would
Right.
probably put it at a freaking like 9 for me, or a 9.5, because like I that makes it much more of an enjoyable experience. I mean,
Yeah.
considering that you're never gonna figure out the formula, and then every playthrough is going to be like truly unique, like a new game.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's yeah. There's always something new. And in the second playthrough, when we started kind of getting faster, we got the embalming process down to a T. We got the Shadow Man again, or at least so we thought, just him. We got. I think you and I kind of got brave. We started getting kind of funny on the stream, and
Yeah.
then we got that guy and all that stuff, and we're like, shit. Now we got the mimic to worry about, and it's like, that book that you kind of wrote for yourself for the first game or the first night, throw it away because it's you cannot like trust what's about to happen. So yeah,
Yeah, dude, like it's
yeah,
just like what the fuck? Like, okay, what
yeah. It's not, yeah, it's like it's not so much what the game is doing, but it's the fact that you don't know what it's gonna do. That's the
Yeah.
scary part. I like that. So yeah, scare meter. I think we're not too far off. I like it.
Yeah, yeah.
um,
I think when it comes to first person games, those are more horrifying than like third person.
yeah.
Because you're literally in the driver's seat of what's happening, and it feels more. If I had to say, like, dude, if they ever made this game a VR game, oh
I
my
wouldn't play
god,
it. I wouldn't play
that would
it.
be fucking intense. Man, I remember this when VR first came out, or because VR has been around for the longest time, since like I think the 90s. But like it was very generic back then.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
very experimental,
yeah, but
prototypical. Yeah.
like when Samsung first came out with their little VR headset that came with their phones, I think it was like on the S8 or S9 or whatever. That's when they started kind of like opening up the store before the the Quest came out, and
Meta,
there was
yeah.
this one horror game that was terrifying, dude. That's where I realized, like, I'm like, fuck this. I am not playing any more horror games on the VR.
Which
But
one was that
basically,
one?
it was like it was a stationary game where you we're sitting on a couch, and then it's like an experience. So like you're in a room, and then this fucking of course, out of all things, you're dealing with dolls. There's you have to look around the room,
Oh
and then
no.
these killer dolls, right? Like there's I think there's a pair of them. So like you on a fireplace mantle, there's like the toys sitting there, and if you look around, and then you can't get off the couch, you're just looking around, and all of a sudden the lightning flashes and they're gone, and you're like, oh no. Yeah, so like the whole thing builds up, and at the very end, obviously they jump on you and they kill you, and then that's the experience, right? And
Oh my
so after
god.
that, I'm like, fuck, dude, like
No.
this will probably give me PTSD if I fucking keep playing this too much.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I think yeah, if anything that only reinforces my score. If this game, Mike, were ever to come out in VR, I would not play it. That's how scared I'd be.
It would be a
Yeah.
12 out of 10. Yeah, I know.
It would be a 12 out of 10. Yeah, simply because yeah, you're absolutely right. First person horror games like PT or Resident Evil 7, not so much 8 but 7, it crosses it weakens the threshold between character and player.
Mm.
Uh, VR even more so. In this game, I can barely hold on. Playing with you made it easier for me to hold on. VR, nah, I can't do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, so that's in terms of scares. That's our score. I mean, in terms of like objectively as a game, as an experience, what would you rate this game?
I give it a 9. Like overall with the mechanics, because once everything gets put together, and I think if everything is like I said before, it is as I thought, then it would be a 10 for me. Just for the experience of the game, because like not a lot of games can really check these off for me, and I'm very hesitant to give 10s to anything because
Yeah.
I don't want to be that like that person,
Right.
right?
Right.
I'd like to, most of the time, if it's a great game, like a really great game, it would be like 8 or 9. But like 10 is like stuff that does things differently and they
Yeah.
execute very well. And so like stuff like what Metal Gear Solid did, like they threw in a lot of elements that were very unique, and so that's where I hold those 10s for, like when they do something really crazy. And this game kind of is doing that. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, if they tick that box where like it's fully randomized, all these crazy things that are happening are just, you never know what you're gonna expect, then yeah, that would make this game a 10, because like I really enjoy it. and would keep coming back to play it if even if they kept making updates too. What that would, especially if they keep making updates, because I'd be like, oh, cool, I want to check out the new demon and see what kind of cool stuff they came out with, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'll join in on you on a. It was 9, right? You gave it a 9. I'll give
Hmm.
it I'll give it a 9. Like just kind of like covering up the horror aspect of it. The question I would ask is like, would I keep coming back to play this? Is this a replayable game? It absolutely is. The game tells you, hey, okay, you got one bad ending, but there, little guy. There's actually 5 more, and I think one of them is like a secret. And
Oh
in our
yeah.
first playthrough, we collected some items that hinted at another room that we did not find.
Oh
So
yeah,
part
that's
of me
true.
kind of wants to find that hidden room. I want to try to correctly spell out the name of the demon. And I just, even if we go through each and every single, like, let's assume we play the game 12 times. Each of those 12 times we get a different demon, a different lesser demon. Even then, there's still a whole lot of combinations. And we know for a fact that, like, in your playthrough, you got 3 lesser demons coming after you. As much as that scares the shit out of me, I kind of want to experience it, you know?
Hmm.
There's going to be no shortage of things. And then the fact that things are missing, they're relocated, it just changes the calculus of
Yeah.
what a playthrough would look like. So, yeah, there's a lot of reason for, let's just say you're looking for a game that you're going to play for years to come and you're short on a budget and there's a Steam sale. I would say look at Mortuary Assistant. Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
And then even if you're like maybe a little too scared to go into the demons, it looks like they're constantly updating it, and they got the embalming mode, which is literally just work on bodies. That's it. Yeah. Um,
Yeah, I was gonna mention that because if you don't want to deal with like the horror aspect and you want to do like an actual simulator game of what's going on, then yeah, you can do the embalming mode, which is essentially just no ghost. You're just there to work your job and do as many bodies. I don't. We haven't done it, but like I would assume it's just like do the bodies, go to the next night, do the more bodies. It's more like a what do you call it? A stress reliever. Like for some people, like they just want to do the bodies and then
yeah, some
pass time.
people, some people play Goat Simulator, some people play Solitaire, some people just like to embalm bodies. Whatever floats your boat, my guy. But yeah, if you're scared of horror, but you also want to support indie developers who are on the right track and they're making waves, get Mortuary Assistant and play embalming mode, and then when you're ready to take on the 12 like great demons, then you can switch over to the main game. Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's very inviting to people who may be a little too scared to start off at first. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Or you could pop into our stream if you don't want to play it yourself and watch us get the scared shitless. You know, I
That's
mean that's
another
cool
great
too.
idea. Yeah, I mean you can experience it with us, and yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Yeah, we're the ones
Yeah,
piloting it, so you'll be fine.
for sure, man. I mean, I think that covers everything about the about this game of so far what we've been playing. I mean,
Yeah,
so yeah, I mean, I think we're gonna be streaming it a little bit more. You know, just so we can get past the at least one night of winning on this damn
yeah,
thing, and then
we got to, yeah, and
yeah.
we got to show was it the woman in white who's boss? How
Oh
dare you pick
yes.
on my co-host? Yeah, but
I kind of
yeah,
just want to
we're
run straight at her and be like, because when she was coming close, I'm like, just and see what happens. She's
yeah.
gonna be like,
Stop it, you. Yeah, no, we're as much as we're gonna start working on the next game, we still got work to do on this one. So, yeah, if you want to see us play it, come check us out on Twitch and Digital Quest 24. Yeah,
yeah, for sure. Do you have anything else to add on this one?
no, we got it, and hope to see you all on Twitch. We're making more of a presence there. We had a pretty good following, I would say. Very surprising for our first outing. It was a
Yeah,
lot
it
of
was
fun.
actually.
So it's cool. We're expanding the show, and for those of you who have been with us since the beginning, thank you, and those who have joined on, welcome aboard. Now's the best time to have you.
Yeah, and you know, what one of the things that we're gonna try and do in the next one is try to combine everything into one where we on Twitch do this as a show and also like the gameplay experience so that we because the one thing I've always wanted was to like communicate with people in real time and you know to as we were doing things, so we could take questions and then answer those questions, and then because there's a lot of people that have different. One of the things is we want to learn more about different indie games that are out there, and of course, we always ask for y'all to leave comments on any thoughts and impressions that y'all have on our videos, and any suggestions of any other games that you think we should play. But I think it's just a lot more cool to interact with y'all in real time, and so that's one of the things that we're kind of working towards. So maybe on the next episode we can hopefully see most of y'all there, and you'll still be able to find these on our platforms like Spotify, Apple Music,
Yeah,
YouTube, wherever you were listening to this. But yeah, I'm super stoked for that, and I was really surprised on the turnout for the first stream, even though it was like what, a 30-45 minute stream.
it was very brief, but we got a pretty decent amount of likes, or I'm sorry, decent amount of watchers, viewers, and I want to say for that first stream, everyone who viewed us followed us. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that means they had a good time. And if you want to have a good time, be sure to follow us. And while you're there, interact with us. Tell us how you're doing. And if you played this game before, if you have any tips or tricks, let us know. And if you have any suggestions on any games we should check out next, all
Yeah.
ears. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, I think that's it from my end. So if you don't have anything, I guess we can kind of close it here.
Yeah. No, we're good to go. Yeah.
All right. Well, hope to see y'all on the next one. If y'all are on the live stream, or if you check out just our next episode, leave us some comments below in our YouTube, wherever you're listening. I think most platforms take the comments, except for like Apple Music, or they haven't gotten to that point yet. But yeah, I mean, we'd love to hear from y'all and get some suggestions on other games we should play. So we will see you on
Yeah.
the next one, and hope y'all take care.
Take care. Bye bye.